Hello, lovelies. Tina Stanzak, Stamping Up demonstrator, here today to talk to you about how to use a quote, unusable paper. I have pulled the Stamping Up Enjoy the Journey DSP out of my stash. If you look at this paper, you can see there is a mountain range on both the top and the bottom, and a lovely Hawaiian like print on the back. Another piece with a mountain range on both the top and the bottom, with these pretty stars on the back. So, to quote one of my friends, well, I could use the B side of every single one of these, but how do I use the A side when it is really just a 12 by 6 paper on every sheet? I would never buy that paper pack because I'm not a card maker. Well, I bought the paper pack because I love Hawaii and I love the prints. But today I'm going to show you how I used this mountain range paper along with this mountain range paper. So there's two sheets, two different mountain ranges, purple on one side and green on the other. And here's what I have created as a layout base using those two sheets of paper. So to start with, I am going to cut this paper in half, 6 inches and 6 inches, so that I am separating the purple from the green. Sorry about my head in the video here. I was trying to make sure I did it at exactly 6 inches. I do have a little bit of green on the top of the purple and a little bit of purple on top of the green, but that's the way it's going to be. We're going to use that color variation. Here I go, cutting the other sheet in half and showing you what it looks like. So both of my purple pieces have that tiny bit of green. Now I'm taking my 6 by 12 pieces and laying them on a 12 by 12 sheet of paper so that I can basically visualize in my head how it's going to look or how I'm going to build a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. I want to cut the top off of the snowy mountain piece and use that as another set of mountains. That's what I have in my head. That's what I'm visualizing. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. And then I want to flip it over so that the mountainy or craggy edge is on top, layered on top of my 12 by 6 piece that I'm going to have at the top of my layout. And the flat part is towards the bottom of the layout. And I know that's going to leave a gap in between my snowy mountains and my purpley mountains. You can see the gap. In order to make another set of snowy mountains, I am going to take a nail file and I am going to file the edge of that designer series paper to give it a little bit of a white edge. So I've gone away through the magic of video and I've done that. And now I am going to make the layer that I need to fill that gap. I have pulled out my ice stickles. The ice stickles are white with like rainbow glitter in them. And I have put some of that on white paper to make a snowy mountain. I grabbed my Cricut spatula because it was there and it was handy, but it wasn't getting the glitter spread out the way I wanted. So I grabbed my handy dandy finger because it's the tool that's always attached and never lost. And I spread the glitter out to get it spread out the way I wanted it. Now I am going to have to let that dry before I put it on the layout. So if you're wondering how I created the craggy edge mountain look, basically I took the mountain piece that I cut, lined it up with the white paper, and then just ripped around, along the edge to make a similar mountain edge. So, and I moved the paper left to right so that my mountains would be at different points. Now I'm just going to go ahead. I've got all the pieces I need, so I'm going to go ahead and create my base. I do use dot adhesive to line up bigger pieces like a 12 by 6 piece because I don't always get it right to the edge, and being an ex-engineer, I like to get it straight to the edge. I'm going to take the bottom piece and line it up with the corner and just temporarily adhere that corner so that I know I can judge the distances and I know where my layers need to go. With the layer that I'm putting down now, my second layer, I'm putting adhesive right underneath the shortest part as well as along one side so that I can make sure I don't have any gaps. And then after I get that adhered, I just flip it over because I don't want to move anything and put the adhesive on and flatten it down. So I have my two pieces. Now I'm moving to my snowy edge that I created using the white paper and the ice stickles. And I'm trying to make sure that that is lined up perfectly against both the left and the right edges before I adhere it down. I am going to use some liquid glue and then use the magnets to hold it down to dry. So you can see again with the magic of video, I have put the liquid adhesive on there, let it dry for a while, and now I'm coming back to put my mountains on. And I did make sure that my two white pieces lined up across my 12 by 24 layout before totally gluing it down because I wanted it to look as consistent as it possibly could going across there. I'm showing you now that I have printed my photos and I have matted some of my photos. I am chuckling to myself as I'm laying the photos out because my husband in the one picture is wearing my daughter's goggles. At the start of the day, she was wearing her own goggles, but it was so cold and so snowy that she could not see where she was going while she was skiing, and she was afraid she was going to fall down. So he ended up swapping goggles with her, and he looks like a minion wearing those tiny little child goggles. Anyway, enough chuckling. I'm showing you the trees that I cut out because I needed some ephemera for my layout. I cut those trees out using the Scenic Adventures dies. I got both the dies and the stamp set. I store my dies right there in the case with the stamp set, so everything's always together. I'm showing you I cut some out using the Stampin' Up! Willow White as well as a random purple that I happen to have in my stash that matched the purple mountains. So I cut both some tiny trees and some larger pairs of trees. I'm auditioning them around the layout to make sure that I'm happy with where my photos are placed and where my trees are. I'm conscious of the fact that I need to build my visual triangle. So I have some trees on the right hand side of my layout, and now I'm trying to build up the middle of my layout, and then I'll have to come down to the lower left hand side of my layout and add some trees so that I can, like I said, build that visual triangle. And I am going to be tucking my trees behind some of those mountains. So while I'm thinking about my visual triangle, I had some ephemera from some earlier ski trip layouts that I had made, and I pulled this circle with the cabin out. I put it on the lower left hand side thinking that I might want to use that cabin to help build out my visual triangle. I know that I need something right there where I put my hand. I also know that I want to add some words. So I'm going to continue thinking about how I need to build this visual triangle. And I'm thinking maybe I want to add some gondolas since the picture on the far left and the far right are of us on the gondola. So I'm removing the photos and the ephemera just to take another look at the pretty background. And while I'm doing this, my daughter happened to poke her head in, and I said, "What do you think?" And she said to me, "Well, it's purple and it's glittery. What's not to like, Mom?" I put my thinking cap on, and here's what I came up with. I matted all of my photos. I matted the gray tone photos on the purple cardstock that matches my trees, and I matted my blue tone photos on white cardstock. Yes, there is a gray tone photo underneath the blue tone photo. I will be putting a flip flap here and adding the journaling to the back of that 4x6 photo. I wanted to break it up and have some gray tone photos on both sides and some blue tone photos on both sides. I'm now flipping that over and showing you where the PML card is, and it will line up so that there is a white mat around the photo once it is in the flip flap. I used the PML or Project My Life cards from Close to My Heart. I have these in my stash. I want to use them up, and this purple vibe is perfect with the purple mountain paper, so it'll be great once I get my journaling on there. I do have to flip it around the right way when I journal. I have built my visual triangle with my trees. I'm happy with my tree clusters. I've got a little bit of purple and a little bit of white in every cluster. Now I just have to finish building out my visual triangle. I did cut some gondolas out on my Cricut, so I'm ready to add those. I also cut a moose out per my daughter's instructions, and I have the moose ready to be added to the layout also. So the last thing I need are some words or a title. I don't want a large title. I pulled the Simple Stories vintage winter sticker sheet out. There are a couple of stickers that say Grand Adventure and Let It Snow, and they have the right color tone on them. So I'm thinking I'm going to add those stickers to my layout. The sticker I'm holding says Let It Snow. I'm just auditioning where I think I might put it and showing you where I want to create the visual triangle using those gondolas. So I am actually going to run away and finish this layout off camera and come back with some still shots of the finished layout for you. Hope you had a wonderful Scrap Your Stash or Stash Busting Saturday, and you were able to pull some stash out and use it to make something wonderful. Tina Stanzak, Empty Nest Scrapping, Stampin' Up demonstrator, here to help you with any Stampin' Up products and using your stash. If you have any questions or requests for future videos using Stampin' Up products and or your stash, please leave a comment below. I would be happy to hear from you and see what I can do to help you. Have a wonderful Saturday.